Welcome to Data Leaders Show. I am Deval Bhatt, and today I have Sharon Lin with us. Sharon, thanks for coming on to the show.
Thanks, Deval. I'm very excited to be on the show.
You are at an intersection of mobile analytics, big data, and behavioral analysis. So that's pretty fascinating, and I'm very happy to have you on this show. Not only because you have some in-depth experience in that area, but also because you bring some unique perspective when it comes to mobile behavioral analytics. So first things first, tell us what makes the combination of big data and mobile analytics so interesting, and why is it your area of passion?
So I think we're living in a very interesting time right now. Just 10 years ago, you don't carry mobile devices, and now it's 2015, and everyone has a mobile phone with them. So people carry mobile device with them everywhere. So the amount of data that's collected by your mobile device is significantly larger than anything that has been collecting our data before, such as PC. So, people don't carry their laptops or their computer with them, but then, you carry your first thing you wake up in the morning. A lot of people use their mobile device as their alarm, and then last thing you go to bed before you look at your mobile device. So many things that people do nowadays involves mobile. You in the Bay Area here, you use Uber or Lyft, which lives off your phone to call for a ride. You use Yelp to find a new restaurant. People used mobile banking. You take pictures, you post it on Instagram, and then even payment. You have this drastic rollout of Apple Pay, and a lot of stores are supporting Apple Pay now. So you can look at mobile usage as a form that represent our personal behavior. Like I said, you wake up in the morning, you turn off your phone, so your phone alarm, so you know that Apple could potentially collect, for example, what time do people usually wake up. So analysis of mobile data is very fascinating. And then using these data, a lot of people can make products that improve our life. But of course, database decisions are not always for the better if companies' main goal is driving revenue. So, you have people putting out mobile games that can sometimes encourage addictive behavior. So I don't want to be in the camp that says all collection of data is good, but there's a lot of good that mobile behavioral analytics can do. One example I want to give is that mobile device can help track your diet probably better than any system that have done before. I have a lot of friends that have Apple Watch right now. So Apple Watch can track how much exercise you're doing. They can remind you when to stand up. You have devices like Fitbit that track your exercising data. You input your calorie intake, and then for people who want to lead a more healthy life, this is very essential type of hardware devices that can help them achieve their goal. And I think, we're also moving into an era of location-based service. So, you have ride service like Uber, you have Tinder, which is a dating app, you have Groupon, which offer location-based deals, you have Instacart, which offer grocery delivery. All of these services use mobile data. They track our location, and they provide a service that is meant to make our lives more convenient. And from those data, company can learn more about our behavior and see what works and what is not working. And I think people should be aware of the type of data that the companies are tracking, but you should always also think that there's a trade-off, right? Convenience and privacy, it's not, it's a little bit like kind of exclusive of each other. You give up part of your privacy in order to be, have more convenient product. So I think it's very essential that people are aware that, in an era of big data, we collect vast amount of data so we can make products that can improve people's lives. So one of the reasons I'm very passionate about mobile analytics, because as we're moving into this era of mobile first, we're seeing products that are being released that bridge the gaps in our lives. As I was saying, you have all these products that are coming out in probably the last 15 years, and it completely changed the landscape of how we live nowadays. And there's a lot of things that can be easily solved by collecting data, such as location-based. But we're also seeing an emergence of Internet of Things, which is kind of like the next, what I think is the next big thing as people are moving more into automated, home products. So, for example, there was a startup called SwitchMate, which is a smart light switch. It lets you control turning on and off your light from your mobile device. So if you just think about the type of data they can collect and what they can do with the type of data is very, very powerful. They can collect, when you are and when you're at home, i.e. when you turn on the light or when you go to sleep, or when you turn on the light, and when you're not at home or when you're asleep, when you turn off the light. So it can move into automating these processes. So it can, in the long term, help you save your, conserve energy and help you save money. So I think all of these reasons are very exciting in the time of, big data.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I really like that little tidbit that you mentioned about how personalization and privacy are mutually exclusive. That's very interesting. With big data comes big personalization, and that's completely in against flow with privacy. But in terms of your experience, you seem to have like more than 5 years of solid data analytics experience in various different startups and mid-sized companies with when it comes to product analysis and mobile analytics. So what I wanted to learn from you, and our audience would really enjoy learning from you, is you mentioned something about all this data that is being collected by mobile devices, things like behavioral data, log data. What is your best approach towards bringing all this data together and putting it to some productive use to help either company grow or to help consumers, or how do you see companies using this data and applying this data?
So there's sort of two components to a problem like this. So first of all is how can you access these data? So we are collecting data. When I was working in mobile, we're probably collecting hundreds of millions of records every single day. And, just processing those data, that's one problem. A lot of time, you don't have the resource, especially a lot of startups don't have the resource to process so much data in real time. So that's one of the problems. The second problem is how can you find valuable information from this data? So I guess the first part is, I think even now when big data and big data solution, cloud solution is becoming a more mature product, one of the biggest problems a lot of companies face today is still we collected all these data. What do we do now? Company will often collect a lot of log data, and in terms of mobile, they have data points such as when do someone log into an app, when do they open an in-app purchase but not buy anything. So very minute details of your mobile behavior. They'll collect things like that, but with terabytes or sometimes petabytes of data, companies will often take out what they know that are important data. So for example, in mobile, it's like how much money did you spend in an app? Companies obviously want to know that. That is their metrics for driving revenue. They're interested in that metric, so they know to take that out. But for the data that they're not really sure what they can do about it, they'll put the rest of the data into storage. And I think that's one of the main components of why data science is very important, because part of the goal of a team is to help company construct an infrastructure that allows other people in the company to access such data. So, you have people, data engineer working with data science to put together a framework. So, different analytics group can access data and maybe try to figure out what they can do with this data. So without access to such data, you can't even really start looking at, trying to figure out what is good about the data you're collecting. And I think that's one of the big reasons Spark has become very popular with companies lately. You've seen a rise of Hadoop probably in the last 4 or 5 years, and then now Spark's becoming very popular. A lot of people are integrating Spark on top of big storage, cloud storage like S3 to let them explore what is in their storage. And Spark is a very good solution to have fast ETL processes, things like that. So I think that is one of the component when it comes to big data helping company access the data. And the other thing is, once you have access to this data, what can you do with it? And I think that's why you have a lot of data scientists being very, very good in machine learning algorithms. So they can use these machine, once they have a hypothesis, they want to test it. They access data, they can run some machine learning algorithm trying to figure out what is, can this data give you some information about your product that you don't already know? So
Right. Nice.
yeah. So.
You mentioned something about Spark. Our viewers would really benefit if you expand on what is Spark and what is Hadoop. I know what those things are, but can you expand on what those things are, please?
So Hadoop and Spark are like they're like data infrastructure that can help you access a lot of data there's many use case of Hadoop and Spark. So I don't want to get into like other use case because the use case I've been very familiar with them is processing data. So I'll really just focus on that. So I actually personally never use Hadoop in a work environment because we haven't had the need of it. But a lot of people use Hadoop in place of their ETL process to process a lot of log data in real time. And so in traditional sort of like relational data warehouse type of situation, you can't really process a lot of data in real time. It's very time consuming. So Hadoop is sort of like, very similar to like, I guess, NoSQL, where you process all these data and then you put it sort of in storage and people can access those data. I think what makes Spark, a lot of people of why they prefer Spark over Hadoop is because Spark is even faster than Hadoop. Hadoop use memory or Hadoop use disk in order to process the data. And on the other hand, Spark use memory, which is faster than Hadoop. So I think that's the main difference. And that is why I know my company currently is looking into Spark solutions to have Spark sitting on top of the S3 storage. So having Spark manage the ETL process and looking at all the log data we have in storage and see what we can do with that data.
Very cool. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. I haven't used Spark at all. I'm looking forward to use that. So when I use it, I'll hit you up and get some insights from you.
Definitely.
I only used a little bit of Hadoop, so I'm really excited about getting my hands wet with Spark. So tell us, Sharon, changing the gears a little bit, what are you excited about going forward when it comes to data science or even your personal life? After I heard that you gave a commencement speech at the first ever graduating class for data science at Berkeley, one of the best data science programs in the nation, and you were giving a commencement speech there. And I watched that speech, and it started out with how you spent countless hours resolving meaningless Python errors, but it made you a professional because now you have that problem-solving skills ingrained within you. Going forward, what are you very much excited about? What projects can't you wait to start, both in your professional or your personal life?
I think so. Coming into the program, so one of the main thing I really want to get into is nonprofit in my long-term career goal. I sort of view everything I'm learning nowadays as experience that I can bring to the nonprofit world. I think nonprofit, unlike private organizations or I guess public large corporations out there, they don't really have the resource. So they really depend on people with a lot of experience coming in, helping out with their costs. So there's a couple of causes I really care about. So water conservation is one of them. So being in California the last few years, there's a real emphasis on that we're in a mega drought right now, and we don't have water to sustain all the business and lives in California right now. So I think it is more important than ever to conserve water. So something I've been thinking about is, what data science can help improve water conservation is, you can use machine learning to come up with more efficient ways to use water. For example, for agricultural water conservation, if you can integrate real-time weather data into your system, and it can automatically adjust how much you're watering your crop, you can use water more efficiently. And I know there are talks about drip irrigation instead of traditional sprinkler. You can collect these data and analyze which is more efficient. You can do A/B tests, have half of your crop going through one type of irrigation system, another half going through another. And at the end of the year, you might lose some money, but in the long run, it can save you way more, especially of how expensive water is nowadays. And then the other cause I'm very close to my heart is the World Wildlife Foundation. So I think for me, I think it's very important to preserve life, especially endangered species, to make sure that they do not go extinct. So one of the project I've been following is that people who are trying to use advanced image recognition algorithm to help them track and monitor endangered species, because a lot of these species are in sort of remote area that's very hard to deploy actual people or team there to tag and then track it by GPS. So these are very expensive, and sometimes it's not feasible. So if you can use advanced image recognition to track these endangered species, it's much efficient, and it allow you to deploy this to a much larger scale. So you can scale it much better, and then you can track species movement to understand their migration pattern. You can better protect animals from illegal hunting if you know and can predict where they're going to be next. And then this can also help predict what type of animals are moving towards endangerment if we can track their population size and then track their movement. So, there's a lot of things you can do with data science to help these costs, and that is something that I'm hoping to do in the next part of my life. So
Very cool. So solving the mega drought and helping endangered species from getting extinct. Those are the two big projects you're going to handle now that you're having 20, 30 extra hours of time every week. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Big projects. Very excited to see where you take those projects, and love to get an update from you and get you on the show again when you have the next update on those projects. Very Sharon-like, very big project, very exciting challenges. Looking forward to hear more about it in future. So I'm very happy to have you on this show. I'm very happy to have had you on this show. How do people touch base with you? How do they get in touch with you to get more insights from you on things like Spark or mobile data or mobile analytics? Let's say if somebody has a startup and they want to get your insights on how to use their mobile data better or more effectively, how do they get in touch with you, Sharon?
So they can reach me on my email. So my email is sharonxlin@gmail.com. That's Sharon, my first name, X as Xerox, and then LIN@gmail.com. Or they can connect me with me on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or feedback about what I discussed today.
Great. Well, after hearing this interview, I'm sure they will. And I'm very excited to have had you on this show. It's been a great show. Best of luck with how you connect data with mobile usage and behavioral analysis. And once you're ready for an update, let me know. We'll get you back for part 2 of this show. And good luck with your success. Keep me updated. And let's see where this takes you.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you again for having me on the show.